Yesterday, we talked about the Browns' offense and specifically Baker Mayfield struggling. Was today a completely different story? Well, let's talk about it. As always, before I get into the training camp recap, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding that notification bell so you can be notified. I'm having a ton of uploads coming about the Browns and the AFC North when it comes to training camp and everything coming up for the season, so make sure you're locked in so you don't miss a single drip of content. Now, some housekeeping notes about training camp before we get started in the actual breakdown. Kevin Johnson, who has looked really good throughout camp, had like 4 solid days, moved up with the ones. He's out with a lacerated spleen. Last I heard, he was in the hospital. I hope he gets better. If you're wondering who's going to step up and replace him for the time being, it's going to be MJ Stewart, the former second-round pick. That seems like that's the rotation at slot. They don't seem to be interested in doing any kind of rotation of the position. It's going to be MJ Stewart. So for those of you who thought Denzel might slide into the slot and they'll have Terrence and Greedy on the edges, not going to happen. Jack Conklin was just being rested today. He was out. That was why he was out. Odell and Jarvis, who again had surgery in the offseason, so they weren't going to be 100% by this time in camp. They were out the day before, but in the practice that I'm talking about today, they were in, both full go. Now, today's practice wasn't padded, and they were in shells, so that has to be noted with any takeaway that I'm going to say is this wasn't padded practices today. But I will say, when Odell, Jarvis, and Austin Hooper are all out there on the field, this offense looks a lot different than it did yesterday. I'll say that. I don't know what team's going to have enough personnel in their secondary to cover it, but I know one thing's true. The Browns could not cover it. And speaking of the defense, let's get into some of the defensive highlights of the day. So as noted, not a ton of highlights for the defense today. Yesterday, big day for the defense. Today, not so big. You didn't see much from your linebackers. What you did see was some promising signs from your secondary. I think Denzel Ward had a pick 6, and Denzel Ward has looked like Denzel Ward so far. It looks like he's playing a lot more man. It looks like he's more comfortable. It looks like he's just more in his element, which is what you want to see out of Denzel Ward, because I believe when that happens, he's one of the best corners in the AFC. When he's not, he's a good corner, but not the great corner that he has the potential to be. So nice to see Denzel Ward back in his element. Also, Greedy Williams, I feel like he had a good day. Now, he had a rough go of it. He had to cover Odell a lot, but he did keep up pretty well with Odell when he was asked to get on him. And he made some plays here. He made a great play here on Odell with a ball going to the end zone. That's a good ball, and that's just better coverage by Greedy Williams. So good thing there. And Grant Delpit has actually been impressive throughout camp. And I think today was his most impressive day. He made some plays in the run game, but he made a play against tight ends, and that's what you would want Grant Delpit to do. Somebody who can erase other teams' tight ends, so that's good to see from Grant Delpit, and a good sign going forward with the young core of your secondary being Greedy Williams, Grant Delpit, and Denzel Ward. Those are all positive signs for the defense. You would have liked to see more out of the linebacking group, but again, with no pads on, the offense is going to have a slight advantage anyways, because the pass rush, while it's live, isn't as lively as it would be. And again, just you're in the middle of the field, things kind of get messy when there's no pads on. So the defense didn't have a great day today. I'm not going to overreact to that and make it a huge deal. I just think it was what it was. Now let's talk about the offense. Okay, so when you talk about this Browns offense, the first question is, how did Baker look? How did Odell look? And if that's what you're worried about, those two look fine. Baker looked good today. We'll talk about it later, but let's talk about Odell real quick. Odell had a great day, and whenever he's been full go out there in camp, he's looked great, to be honest. He's looked like the Odell that the Browns traded for. He doesn't look like he's limited. He doesn't look like he's holding back. He doesn't look like he's out of sync. Most of the time, it looks pretty good with Odell out there. He made a great play between 2 safeties to get on this ball. Him and Baker seem to have a good connection. And what I like the most, right, is that last year there was no trust between the two, right? If Baker thought Odell was in anything near a compromised position, he would never give him the chance to go up for the ball. And if Odell felt like he was in any kind of compromising position, he felt like Baker wasn't giving him the ball. And that's not good. You have a guy like Odell because he can make those plays in what are normally compromising situations. So when you don't even take the opportunity to throw that ball, you kind of waste a lot of what it means to have Odell on the roster. Now, it seems like Baker's giving him those opportunities to just go up for a ball and see if he can make a play. And it seems like Odell is cashing in on those opportunities. That's what you needed to see out of these two. That was one of the most important things. I mean, you look back at the Denver game that the Browns lost, that was one of the issues, is that Baker didn't trust Odell to make a play and went with his read on that play and didn't end up getting the touchdown that he would have got if he would have trusted Odell. That's what the Browns need to do. And you saw Baker do things that he wasn't doing the day before, like hitting guys on outs. Baker made a great play to Jarvis Landry here. And then, guys like Kareem Hunt look good. Harrison Bryant continued to look good. And also, for David Njoku, I would say this. He didn't have a bad day, and he hasn't had bad days in practice so far, except for maybe one day. But the Browns are doing a ton of red zone stuff, and he has yet to find a way to kind of stand out in those situations, and that's concerning, right? If you're David Njoku, that's where you need to shine. That's where you need to show your worth. And the fact that Harrison Bryant and Austin Hooper look impressive there, but you haven't, that's not good. Austin Hooper and Baker seem to have a good connection. Kadarius Hodge is actually playing pretty well so far throughout camp. And another guy who should be kind of on notice a little bit is Rashard Higgins. Now, he's been getting open. He just hasn't been able to get the ball completed to him. He hasn't gotten an accurate ball yet. I don't know why that is. That might or might not be his fault. He might not be running the right route. I don't know 100%. But I will say he's been getting open. But what I also will say is that the other receivers, Donovan Peoples-Jones and Kadarius Hodge, have been getting open, and they've been finishing those plays. They've been getting the ball in their hands. So for whatever reason, the quarterbacks are able to complete it to those two and not Rashard Higgins. And it's more important because those two are really pushing Rashard Higgins for that third wide receiver role. I think we all had that penciled in for Rashard Higgins, but Peoples-Jones and Kadarius Hodge are really making a push for that. And if you're somebody like Damian Ratley, you need to get healthy as soon as possible because that spot is up for grabs. And it's anybody's game at this point, but there's a nice competition going between those three right now. And Baker Mayfield, much improved day. Now, again, not in pads. So we'll see if he can continue to do this with pads when he has his two wide receivers and his tight end all on the field at the same time. But whenever that is the case, he's looked good. He wasn't missing on those outs today that I complained about yesterday. He's tucking and running more, which I like to see. Also, he looks a lot more athletic, a lot more agile, a lot more quick. His pocket presence seems a little bit better, less flighty, and more kind of decisive with what he's going to do. Either he's trying to string it out and make a play down the field when he runs, or he's trying to run. Last year, it seemed like he just didn't know what he wanted to do and wasn't confident in his ability to run for a first down. Now, it's completely different. He seems like he's confident in his ability to scamper out there for 10 yards, which is very good to see. It's going to keep the defense on their toes. And the accuracy was here today. Baker Mayfield was a lot more accurate, especially in the red zone, which you like to see. Looking more like his rookie year, but a little bit more improved. I mean, like this play would have been a sack here, but Baker rolling out here and making that throw and it being exactly where it needs to be, that's the accuracy of Baker Mayfield that we've been wanting to see for a little bit. And the fact that he's making those throws, been better on the route, it's a positive sign, but I want to see him do it in pads. When he's been in pads, he's been less accurate, but granted, there was rain one day, and the other day he didn't have Odell and Jarvis, so we'll see. I don't think the accuracy thing gets a pass just because you didn't have Odell and Jarvis. But I want to see him do it in pads because if he can do it in pads and continues to do it throughout the next week, it'll show that it wasn't just a pure accuracy issue, it was a footwork issue, and he's working it out. So all in all, Odell, Jarvis, Hooper, good combination, all look great. Kareem Hunt continues to look great out there in practice. Baker Mayfield looked great today. Hopefully that's a sign going forward. The defense didn't look great, but your secondary still kind of shined in some moments. So all in all, I would say this is a good day. And so far, it's been a good camp. What you've seen here is what you would like to see out of good teams out of training camp, which is both sides of the ball making plays. It's not just good enough to get stops or not have the ball move and have the ball hit the ground a lot. That doesn't mean you have a good defense. That just means you have a sloppy offense during training camp. Some of the signs you can tell when a team is playing better football in training camp is when both sides of the ball have to make plays in order for things to happen one way or the other. And that's what's happening in camp. Either the defense makes a play or the offense makes a play. But it's been a consistent stream of both sides of the ball having to make plays, which makes me optimistic about the season going forward after the first kind of week of full-on training camp practices. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Are you encouraged by what's happened so far this week in training camp, or are you discouraged? Let me know in the comment section below. But again, guys, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day and have a good night.